Hi, it's Matt Ward, the Offbeat Agent, and in this episode we're going to talk about the top 10 freest countries in the world according to the Cato Institute's Freedom Index. And the Cato Institute is a libertarian think tank founded and funded by the Koch brothers. Charles look a bit like Stephen Colbert's dad. Here we go. Hey all you patriotic motherfuckers out there. On Reddit I asked y'all to send me links to your merch and an electronic group called did, so I bought one of their shirts. This is the sad face shirt. I really dig it. So let's check out the top 10 freest countries in the world according to the Cato Institute. But first let's look a little bit more into the source. The full report is called the Human Freedom Index, a global measurement of personal, civil, and economic freedom. The index uses 82 indicators of personal and economic freedoms, including these categories: the rule of law, security and safety, movement, religion, association, assembly, and civil society, expression and information, relationships, size of government, of course it's a libertarian think tank, legal systems and property rights, sound money, freedom to trade internationally, and regulation. So here's your top 10. Number 10, Luxembourg. Luxembourg would rank higher if it wasn't number 1 of all the countries on this list in government spending and consumption, although Luxembourg is relatively lax in the eyes of the Cato Institute regarding regulations on business and credit and ownership of foreign currency. Now, it isn't factored into the Freedom Index score, but I also feel it's important to note that they have universal health care. Number 9, Sweden. Sweden has the second highest government consumption of any of the countries on our list, and that's because of social programs such as monetary support for children up until they're 16 years old, and parents receiving up to 480 days of leave upon having a child, for example. This and universal health care both lend themselves to the creation of an environment where the monetary function of the country is extremely strong. Sweden shines when it comes to personal freedoms like mobility, demonstration, expression and information protections, and acceptance of LGBTQ relationships. Number 8, Australia. I didn't really expect to see Australia on this index, and it's probably because of the reporting by the far-right media that during the pandemic, the Australian government was pretty much a police state, which is not the case. You know how that works. Well, of course, this study doesn't really focus on that because the data from this study comes from 2019, so the pandemic had not even happened yet. Australia does rank highly for assembly, expression, and freedom of same-sex relationships, and they also have universal health care. Number 7, Finland. My ancestors. I'm Finnish and German, so when my wife and I vacationed for our honeymoon in Jamaica, a German tourist couple came up to us and just started speaking German, because apparently we look really fucking German. Finland has what the Cato Institute considers entirely too much government. However, unrelated to the Freedom Index, Finland is consistently ranked as one of the happiest countries in the world on several indices, which is impressive because they're right next to Russia. Living next to Russia is like living next to the family where the dad is a complete asshole, but somehow the kids are still cool. Finland has some form of universal health care since 1972. Not having to worry about the doctor would make me happy as fuck. However, weed is not legal, but that doesn't factor into the Freedom Index, even though it fucking should. Number 6, Canada. Ooh, this is going to upset those people in the freedom convoys. Canada ranks highly for personal freedoms such as safety and security, same-sex relationship recognition, and inheritance rights. They also have universal health care and legal marijuana. Only ding really is just the size of the government in the viewpoint of the Cato Institute. Number 5, Ireland. Ireland is friendly to same-sex relationships, the press, and ranks highly for safety and security. Ireland also has legal weed. Ireland does not have universal health care, but all maternity service and child care up to the age of 6 are provided free of charge. Also, the pubs open at like 5 a.m., so maybe that has something to do with their freedom, being drunk at 5:25. Number 4, Estonia. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't know that was a country. Estonia also loses some points for government consumption or spending by the government on services for the public. The country has been independent, formerly a part of the Soviet Union, since 1991. In that time, they've experienced great economic growth, helping give balance to the economic freedom component of the Freedom Index score. On the human freedom front, Estonia scores highly in safety and security and expression and information. Their inflation, however, is around 20% currently. Not helped by the fact that their neighbor is Russia, they've received over 40,000 Ukrainian refugees as well. Estonia does not have full universal health care, but 95% of the population is covered by state-sponsored health care. Number 3, Denmark. Denmark gets some dings for the size of their government and taxes, but they make up for it by not having a heavily regulated credit market and their past inflationary numbers. Unfortunately, inflation in Denmark is currently now approaching 7%, so it'll be interesting to see where Denmark ranks the next time this study is done. Denmark is regularly ranked one of the happiest countries in the world, kind of like Finland. I would say much of that's probably due to the lack of medical debt because of the presence of universal health care. Number 2, New Zealand. New Zealand highlights include a low amount of homicides nationally, so safety and security. In fact, they had less homicides than Columbus, Ohio, but are 5 times the size of Columbus, Ohio. It's easy to move about freely in New Zealand with minimal disruption from law enforcement or other government agencies as well. Free speech and other forms of expression, including that of the press, is not throttled by the government in New Zealand, and the country does have universal health care. Who is it? Who do you think's number 1? You know who's number 1. The number 1 country that's freest in the world is Switzerland. Switzerland ranks highly for safety and security, religious freedom, relationship freedom, including same-sex relationships, monetary security, including having a handle on global inflation even now, and freedom of expression with little harassment of journalists or restrictions on public assembly. And the country also, of course, has universal health care. There you have it. Thanks for checking out the top 10 freest countries in the world. I appreciate you watching this episode. Please make sure to like on this video, comment on the comments below. Like on this video, comment in the comments, what am I? Who am I? I don't know what's going on. Make sure you hit the notification bell if you give a shit, and I'll talk to you soon.